Disclaimer: in this video, I will be looking at the Souls games, specifically Dark Souls, and the impact they seem to have on certain players psychologically. The papers I've read will be available in the description. I hope you enjoy. The genre Souls-like refers to a group of games known for their challenging gameplay, and despite being incredibly hard and presenting frustrating gameplay moments, these games are often invoked as good media for coping during difficult times. Over the years, different gamers have posted their experiences with these games through YouTube videos or written posts on discussion forums, such as Reddit. But what experiences are those? Well, some have shared how this genre, and the specific game they started out with, had a massive impact on their outlook on life, a positive one that is. Many have shared how Dark Souls, a really hard, lonely and grim game, made them capable of fighting depressive thoughts. Quite the claim, and something that I, as a psychologist, found quite intriguing at first. But after putting some thought into it and doing some research, I do believe them. Because if we pay close attention, there are many parallels here. You see, just how Dark Souls is lonely and grim, so is depression. Speaking of which, to begin with, why would Dark Souls draw the attention of people with depressive symptoms? Well, one of the patterns of depression is a tendency for individuals to show a preference for negative instead of positive information or content. These individuals will also tend to have a more negative view of themselves and of their future, and overall interpret information more negatively than individuals without depressive symptoms. But how does this relate to Dark Souls then? Well, Dark Souls isn't exactly happy, is it? The world is dark, grim, and pretty depressing. From the very beginning, you are constantly put down. By one enemy that you just met, by a group of enemies that, while not powerful, can be overwhelming when together, or maybe by a much stronger enemy that feels more capable and powerful than you, or simply by the world. I can't recount the number of times I've died in Dark Souls to the world. I fell, I got hit by a trap, or didn't see a hole in my way, sometimes everything at the same time. It's like the world wants you to be unable to go on. The world is against you, and this is a feeling that may parallel some symptoms of depression. While preparing this video, I read some papers that confirm this idea. For example, in one paper that basically collected and analyzed Reddit comments about Dark Souls, some players reported feeling like the game represented an embodiment of their own depression, with challenges hard to overcome in a dark and hopeless environment. But Dark Souls presents another layer that contributes to this feeling of being unable to go on and overcome obstacles: loneliness. In Dark Souls, you are, most of the time, alone. All of these obstacles are thrown at you, and you are there by yourself, with a few exceptions, but more on that later. What's important to know is that loneliness is a strong predictor of depression, or, said differently, loneliness has a strong impact on depressive symptoms. So, in a way, and to sum this up, we can argue that Dark Souls presents an experience similar to that of depression, and I think this is what draws the attention of someone with depression to Dark Souls. The game validates their feelings and their views of the world, which can make it feel like a comfortable place to be, and then keeps them there, presenting a grim and lonely journey, at least in the beginning. Now, Dark Souls may be already doing part of the therapeutic process by validating feelings, but how does it get players to move on from there and actually improve? Well, everyone who has played Dark Souls has heard the term "get good", which at first sounds harsh, but it really isn't. It's just the core of it all. What do I mean? Well, every person who has played Dark Souls for a while and invested some hours knows that it's a game of perseverance. You die, you go again, but you go again stronger, because you have learned from your previous combat in which you died. And so, through trial and error, you progress and indeed get good. And this is the first lesson and positive impact the game has on players, teaching perseverance, because when you persevere, you get the uplifting feeling of achieving victory. Naturally, one of the things everyone claims is quite satisfactory is this ability to overcome a challenge. There's no better feeling than killing a boss you've fought countless times. You may have been grinding to level up and get stronger, or exploring for better weapons. Maybe you just got mechanically better and killed it. Regardless, there is no better feeling than killing that freaking guy who got you stuck for hours, sometimes even days. And this is often done by going again, trying again, never giving up until you get it done. So you learn that failure is part of your success, and that challenges, when embraced, often give you positive feelings back. Now, Dark Souls can do this because the game is, overall, fair, even if the whole game's world is trying to kill you. With enemies grouping up and insanely tricky traps, it is all done in a way that feels fair. What do I mean? Well, your success depends on you, your mindset, and your abilities. Each enemy can be defeated in different ways, and it's up to you to find which suits you better. But you can always find a way. If we are honest, there are few moments in which you feel like there's anything random that you can't overcome, because every single hardship you face can be solved by your actions. To support this, in the same paper I cited before, some players state how the game invites you to try and go again after a failed battle, hoping that you learn from your mistakes until you can understand, predict, and defeat the enemies you face. They go further and suggest that in Dark Souls, you don't lose unless you stop trying, reinforcing the importance of embracing failure and challenges until you manage to overcome them. Failure is seen as a natural pathway to success. A player says, quote, "You don't need to win each fight, but what matters is that you persist and keep going despite being defeated, always striving to improve." And suddenly, Dark Souls gave you something good, accomplishment. And with accomplishment, a new train of thought may arise. You are capable, you did it yourself. This is a very powerful achievement, because it will directly contribute to feelings of confidence, empowerment and, in psychological terms, self-efficacy. Simply put, self-efficacy is the perception of being capable of performing in a certain way and achieving the desired results. In the case of Dark Souls, victory. And this is quite important for someone dealing with depression, as it contributes to feelings of being in control and having agency, which is something they may lack. And so, this is where Dark Souls starts to heal you. It touches on your individual ability. You have ownership of your future within the game's world. And that may spread your personal life and positively impact your mental health. Indeed, in the paper I've been using as a basis for this video, players have shared how Dark Souls, by representing their own real-life struggles, not only taught them these lessons within the game world, but also helped them in learning how to cope with real-life problems. Now, what about loneliness? Wanting to be alone can be seen as a symptom of depression, with an individual withdrawing from social interaction. But then, loneliness itself can reinforce depressive feelings, as the lack of interaction with others and social support can strengthen these feelings. So how exactly does Dark Souls address this? Well, Dark Souls provides the possibility for players to summon other players to help them out. This means that if you are stuck against a specific enemy, another player can come over to your world and help you. Since I personally never went this route as I played, I actually only thought about this while doing research for this video and also after watching a specific YouTube video. The channel is named Ember and the video is titled Dark Souls Saved My Life. In this video, the author talks about how the game impacted them and makes several references to playing the game with specific friends. While watching it, I was left with the impression that social interaction, both within Dark Souls and outside while talking about the game with friends, was important to the author. So I highly encourage you to watch it, as I think it's quite interesting to showcase how the social interaction within and about Dark Souls can have a positive impact on individuals. Now back to my research. Well, I looked into it and, in the scientific paper that I've cited countless times at this point, players suggest the multiplayer dynamics of the game can provide emotional support and feelings of togetherness. That is, feelings that, despite being in a digital medium, like a video game's world, there were others, probably humans, traversing the same world and going through similar hardships. But how? Well, first because you can literally ask for the help of others. One player commented on how, against a certain enemy, he summoned another player to help him out. An interesting breakthrough, as this person understood not only that they could ask for help from players within Dark Souls, but also in the real world. In a way, the game made them realize that when dealing with difficulties, asking for the help of others can make burdens much more tolerable. But players also report other ways through which the game made them feel less lonely. First, the hard nature of Dark Souls encourages interaction with other players, even outside the game. This is because once a player finds a roadblock they can't overcome, many will look for others through social media platforms or discussion forums to try to get tips and suggestions. These interactions are not only informative, but can also result in encouragement and emotional support. Sure, it's just a game, but these parallels with real hardships in life can be quite useful to teach us better ways of coping. Finally, Dark Souls specifically, and this genre of games more broadly, became cult classics with specific catchphrases and memes. Even while playing the game, you can find messages from other players that can be helpful, tricky, or just jokes. Regardless, all of these contribute to a general perception of belonging to a broader group of people, which, then again, can have a positive impact in reducing perceptions of loneliness. And this is it. This is my understanding of how Dark Souls can help players. It can teach perseverance and the importance of accepting that failure is a part of your road to victory. But it may also teach that sharing the burden, even if it's just by talking or venting about it, is another important coping strategy. I appreciate you sticking around till the end. As a psychologist and a gamer, the moment I touched Dark Souls, I instantly felt it was special. It took me a while to understand how special though, but I think I'm getting there. Regardless, making this video led me to read and study a bit about the game, and I'm honestly astonished by how impactful this series of games ended up being. It is however important to note that I am by no means recommending Dark Souls over therapy. It seems the game may foster some positive feelings, teach interesting coping strategies and have an interesting impact on some players. But it doesn't mean this is a universal effect. It will certainly highly depend on each person, their specific situation and gaming habits. Some players may also find it harder than others, or just mechanically less interesting, which will likely make the experience more frustrating than enriching. So please make sure to go outside, to game just enough, and remember to be kind with each other. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something from it. My goal was, more than presenting Dark Souls as a therapeutic tool, to reflect about the game, its world and the player's experiences. And if I wasn't able to properly explain myself, or if you are doubting me, there are links to the papers I read while working on this script in the description of the video. Thank you for watching, and remember, don't you dare go hollow.